Hello and welcome to Red Gaming Tech with myself, Amata. Some of you may have seen the Elder Scrolls Online video, which was released a few days ago on November 8th to be exact, and it was basically the developers giving you an in-depth walkthrough as to the basics of the game and what kind of thing we can expect from it. And basically what this video is going to be is a breakdown of all the facts given within it, and obviously some opinions of mine on what to expect from the game, whether or not I think it's going to be any good, and all of that good stuff. So let's jump straight in. Oh, and if you want to see the full video, if you haven't already, then a link will be, of course, in the description. Many things are discussed within this video. It may only be just under 10 minutes long, but an actual crap ton of information is given. But I'm going to discuss the key points and what I think is the most interesting to you guys. One of the things that I found most interesting, though, is how they discuss how usually when an MMO launches, you join a server, create a character, only to discover that actually your friends are on another server and that you have to change or maybe even pay to move your character or what have you. And what they said they're going to do to try and combat this is they're not going to have multiple servers. They're going to have what they're calling a mega server, which basically is what it is. It's one giant server that every single person is going to be on. And they repeated the point several times that the game will decide where it's best to put you based on any friends you might have made, guild members, that kind of thing. But it's no multiple servers, it's all going to be one giant server. So that's interesting for numerous reasons. I mean, how is that going to work exactly? I mean, when you first join the game, obviously, if you don't have any friends already signed up or what have you, then obviously the game's just going to plop you wherever. But I suppose once you've joined a guild, add a few people to your friends list, when you next join the game, it will plop you wherever your friends might be. I'm guessing that's where it'll work. But the idea of one giant server with everyone on it is just a little bit odd, just because, well, that's so different to what we're used to with pretty much every MMO ever. So I think there's going to be some concerns from many people, veterans and beginners alike, that this mega server might not just be able to handle the load. I mean, the whole reason we have multiple servers is because the amount of people playing. So maybe eventually they'd have to have more than one server, but I don't know. It depends on the technology behind it and how exactly it's going to work. They didn't really go into details, they just said that it was only going to be one single server, which obviously I found quite weird. Moving on to slightly more pertinent facts though to do with the gameplay. The Elder Scrolls Online is going to be set 1,000 years before Skyrim, but the player can explore all of Tamriel, including places we're familiar with, like of course Cyrodiil, Skyrim, Morrowind and all that good stuff, but also places that we're not familiar with. New and completely weird and wonderful areas that we haven't seen yet, which is going to be very, very cool indeed. It'd be interesting to revisit old areas with better graphics and see what they've added in terms of environments, questing and all that good stuff. I'm sure many people will be glad to return to Morrowind, although I'm sure there's still many of us who wish they just add it into Skyrim already. But in terms of the combat, they didn't really dive into it too much, but they said it's going to be classic in terms of the controls. Obviously clicking left shift will attack, or you can hold it to power, right click to block, and crouching, stealthing and all of that good stuff is still going to be in the game, or probably on the shift or control key. Also you'll be able to choose from 9 races and 1 class, and there's going to be a heavy amount of customization with all types of armor from the Elder Scrolls lore involved in the game, such as Daedric armor, ebony armor, that kind of thing really. And as well as all that, the different types of armor can be used by any class. So if you want to be a tank who uses a bow and arrow, or a stealthy assassin who also knows healing magic, then you can do so. So the freedom that was offered to us in Skyrim is going to be present in the Elder Scrolls Online, which I'm sure is pleasing to many of you. Obviously, Skyrim really opened up the freedom available to us with how we like to play the game, the combat, weapons, armour available to each character. In theory, any character can wear any armour, and I'm glad that that's making it through to the Elder Scrolls, as obviously some of us like to diversify. We don't want to just be a ordinary stompy tank who wears heavy armour and uses a shield, heavy emphasis on blocking, maybe healing and that kind of thing. You know, we want to add our own twist to it, our own play style, our own sense of personality to our characters, because that, more than the appearance of the character, in my opinion, makes them unique and makes them your character. Obviously, of course, the customization options are going to be there, as we've seen with previous Skyrim games. Make your characters' facial expressions, body type, how thin they are, that kind of thing. All that is going to be there. Doesn't really need to be said, but still, I'm glad that this freedom of choice is going to be there in this game, because obviously the problem that a lot of MMOs have is that your class really defines who your character is, and to be honest, if it was real life, that's just not how it would work. So I'm glad to see that this is making a reappearance for Elder Scrolls Online. Obviously, because this is an MMO, it is going to feature a lot of teamwork and bosses, raids and dungeons that require a rather large group, or obviously more than one person, to successfully bring down the bosses or even the normal enemies. And usually with some MMOs you get the problem of dividing up the loot and drops from these enemies, and often you find yourself scrambling to get even a measly morsel from these rewards. But I'm sure you'll be glad to know that each player will receive equal reward for their participation in the event. So I'm guessing that if 8 of you go into a dungeon together, signed up as a group or what have you, then you will each get a equal amount of rewards, and maybe you can pick before you go in what you will get, or maybe when you're after, you can choose from a certain group of rewards and you can pick whatever you like based on your play style, your character, that kind of thing. I imagine if that's how they did it, that would work very well indeed. That's one of the problems with MMOs, as I said already, that you really just, unless you're fast, get all the loot basically ripped from your clutches. So I'm glad that they're going to be splitting the rewards equally among the players regardless. So I'm sure many of you will be pleased with that, and maybe some of you won't be, but I imagine mostly it's going to be a nod of relief and just yes Bethesda, yes. Perks, of course, are going to be making a comeback and will further define and customize your individual characters. Obviously you can have the usual Skyrim staples such as vampires, werewolves and even pets, but obviously also how you upgrade your health, stamina, strength and so on, as you normally would in any Elder Scrolls game. So obviously we have many options of how to define and individualize your character here, and the perks are going to further emphasize that. Questing will also encourage exploration, and you can find numerous quests in each area, which will be shown on the mini-map as you might expect, usually around the points of interest as they're called by the developers given the interviews. As they said themselves in the particular video that I'm referring to, the points of interest are going to be where the most content is, and your actions will have an effect on the game world. Say for example you go into a town and you clear out a group of particularly troublesome bandits, then whenever you return there you will obviously be thanked, remembered and possibly even showered with gifts for your efforts in getting rid of them. So obviously the effects on the game world that we saw in Elder Scrolls previous games such as Skyrim will be making a return, which is always nice, always makes the world feel that little bit more alive and realistic. They are also hoping to have the PvP be accessible to all players regardless of whether you're level 10 or level 80. How they're going to do this, however, they don't really say, just that this is what they want for their PvP. Not sure how interested I personally am going to be in the PvP. They don't really give many details, just that it's going to be about a huge epic battle with many players taking part, perhaps on even opposing sides, that kind of thing. But the main point they drive across is, as of course, that it's going to be accessible to all players. They want to encourage newcomers to PvP and make sure you're comfortable even at earlier levels, because obviously to make your game last you need to make the newcomers feel welcome as well as the veterans. Okay, I think that's pretty much me done for the roundup of news and facts given in this particular video. Given my thoughts on most of them, overall the facts and figures that they've given are very encouraging indeed. It sounds like they know that what they want for this game and they're not afraid to go for their vision, and they are definitely learning from their previous games, and Bethesda's experience with RPGs is obviously going to help. Obviously they're not exactly developing it, it's going to be ZeniMax, but I highly doubt Bethesda are leaving it all to them. It seems like their influence is definitely being felt here with the decisions that I've listed, and that their experience with dealing with the Elder Scrolls universe is definitely going to help out here, and I don't doubt that they're going to be learning from previous mistakes and improving upon their track record, which is pretty damn good, as I'm sure you would agree. So I hope you found this video entertaining and somewhat helpful. Please, as always, feel free to give your thoughts and opinions on anything I've discussed here. What do you think about what I've said and what the facts the developers have given? Do you think the Elder Scrolls Online is going to be awesome, or do you think it's just going to fall flat on its face? I definitely want to hear from you guys, as I always tend to do. Anyway, that's me done for this fairly long news video. I hope you found it helpful, as I said, and thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again next time.